How did you come up with this concept?
I met Doug Robinson at a lunch after I made a movie called Feast at Disney, a little short. And Doug was one of the producers that I had met, just kind of seeing what's out there in the world. And he said, do you have a show? Do you have a show that you would want to make? And I always thought it'd be fun to do a live-action family show with some whimsy in it. Back in the 80s, there was stuff like Alf and Dinosaur, and there was these weird shows on. And I was like, we don't have any really weird shows now. It'd be fun to do something that's kooky. And and Doug introduced me to Adam Goldberg, and my dad was a toy designer, and Adam collects Star Wars toys, and my dad worked for Kenner, so we geeked out a little bit about Star Wars toys and Care Bears and Strawberry Shortcake and stuff like that, and found some common ground on maybe making something with a little puppet that we could do in CG or puppet or whatever. So it started with that, and then the Imaginary Friend just is something that as a kid I had Red Light, Green Light. My brother had Doi Doi and Javi, and I feel like it's a somewhat common entry point to a little bit of whimsy and weirdness, and plus we can make the main character, we can make Jenna, a little bit heightened, a little bit take advantage of her physical comedy, I think, so something kind of cool about that. But it was in the interest of making a show that is escapism, that is light, that is kind of goofy, and it doesn't take itself very seriously. That was the beginning of it. Yeah.
Any resistance from the network for a show that is kind of a throwback to, like you said, that Alf type of thing and that wacky?
It was always that from the beginning. So I think resistance would have been in just not wanting to do anything with us. I think they can easily say no. I think ABC has been good with the Goldbergs, and it's nice to stay within that group with Adam as a producer. So I think I'm sure that has something to do with it a little bit, but we pitched all the networks on the same day, and then ended up going with ABC at the end of the day. Is what it kind of came down to. For me, it was a lesson, and I've never made any television before at all, so I had only been involved in feature animation and barely even live action stuff. So the big education was they had to tell me how fast TV was made, and I had to tell them how slow animation was, and we had to find some way to make that kind of work. So we're double the post schedule of Goldberg's. We're 6 weeks to finish the episode after shooting, which is Goldberg's is 3, but and animation, takes about a week to do 5 seconds. So trying to find a team of animators that were great actors, because that's where I thought we needed to put our money in the acting and not worry about totally real fur, or I think if the character didn't act right, no one would care, so we didn't go there. So energy on that, and the network was on board from the beginning, but it was about me educating them, about how animation worked. And luckily, I just left Disney, and John Lasseter is part of Disney and ABC, so we were able to get on the phone with him once and sort of toss ideas around and say what do you think, and get some of that into the show. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, it was nice to have a company that knows animation a little, but still it was them teaching me about making TV, and I'm trying to teach them about making animation.
What have you learned? What has been your lesson besides the speed?
I've always had a feeling that putting your money in animation, time is money. So when I say put your money somewhere, it's really just what do you want to spend time on? That there are things that are connect with audiences, and they're going to be things that are nice, but they're not going to miss. And I realize that you can make really hot, great-looking stuff quickly if you just concentrate on what connects to the audience, and start with a great voice in Rachel, and then find partners in design that can make it kind of look nice and be good. I learned that movies and TV are very different in the fact that TV is it's always on. So there's this flow of there's this pull. And a movie company is supposed to release a certain amount of movies a year, but it's not the same kind of vacuum, So the time pressure is there, not only in that it has to be done fast, but there's a release that's coming on the air. It's literally going to be on TV in a couple weeks. So you can't wait on stuff. Sometimes in animation, you're just like, in a feature, you're just like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know right now. It's like an okay answer for a problem, and it's not. It's like, no, just make a decision, and if it backfires, we figure that out when that happens too. It's a lot more of this like kind of thing, but the energy is fun because of that. It's definitely like high pressure.
Is there a budget fight that you have to fight all the time with animation because it's such an expensive process?
Yeah, I mean, there's always, there's push and pull of like what you want to spend your money on. Is it music? Is it original songs? Is it like licensing? Is it set design? Is it where you shoot? Is it in the animation? Is it just one of those items? And it's a major one in this show. It's kind of like a lead actor, but it is always a balance of finding. For me, I don't like to think about it as budget. I think about it as choice. Like, I can choose an extra minute of animation or this set.
Right.
And it's like, which one is worth more to the story? And you try to like approach the problem solving that way because it's you don't want to abstract it into dollars when it's really just means like quality for one versus quality for the other. Maybe there's a balance somewhere in there or a compromise, because that's all budget really is like moving from different piles.
You find in some scenes that you wish you had a little bit more animation?
Yeah, of course.
You don't have money, so you can't do it?
Yeah, I think, we did a lot of shots with the puppet in this case, and at the end we went back with the time we had left and replaced them. So it's things that were like over the shoulder, you would see a little bit of the real furry puppet for a while, and you still do in the show sometimes, but it's less and less. The more we can fill in with actual animation, the better, but sometimes, you run out of time, and what's on there is what's on there. I'll be curious to see if people notice any of that. We think it's hidden pretty well, but sometimes, the real puppet
somebody
is there.
that says, I saw that.
Yeah, that was a little different, than the other stuff. But hopefully it doesn't take you out of the show. So we tried to like start with the ones that were the most obvious and pull back from there. And that's how we kind of filled the remainder of time. I make sure to have a little padding at the end for accidents and emergencies and or extra shots. We realize this episode's not as funny. We want to add extra jokes. We can do that with an animated character way after shooting, because you can just have Rachel re-record a line and then animate it, but you can't like go back to the set and make the show different. So it's a nice little cushion like that for comedy, and we use that a few times as well.
You guys
Just one more question, I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask about Rachel. Was she always your guys' first kind of choice for the voice of the character, or was that just came along as time went?
The look of Mary changed from when it was first released. Did her character change at all? Or?
Yeah, it did. I mean, the original writing, she was much more of a monster in like this 80s gremlin-y kind of labyrinthy design, because she was much meaner. And when we got into how the pilot ended up being reworked and written, we realized that Mary was needed to be cute and needed to have that arc, and the design wasn't really supporting that. So the redesign came from the rewrite. The character ended up being a lot cuter, but we had started making the character, because it takes about 3 months, and we didn't have time to redo it for the pilot and get the animation out in time for our delivery of the pilot before the upfronts. So we just had to make it work for what it was, and then with the knowledge that if we were going to make more episodes, that we would be able to go back in and redesign and make it more appealing. Rachel was from the pilot from the beginning. Once we played a bunch of clips of her against the design, and you just kind of listen and you look at the character and think about how that could work, and it just fit. And then we had her read a few lines and cut them in and see how it worked, and it was clear that it was the best. It was making the show better, so that's where we went. Cool.